Welcome to the beautiful city of Athens, the gateway to the Tennessee Valley, a city rooted in deep community relationships and built on a rich tradition of small local business and the very best of the human spirit. As Athens embraces the future, the signs of progress are in full bloom. Join us as we discover the bright spots in this charming southern city that we call home. This is Hometown Heartbeat, Athens. What's going on, everybody? Woo woo! It is Friday, and I'm kidding. I was just wishful thinking. It is Monday, and you know what that means. Today sucks. No, it's Monday, which is a great day, because this is the day that the Lord hath made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. I have to sing that song to myself regularly on Mondays. So, what's going on out there in Facebook Landia? Whoa. I see Connor for the first time. I had it muted, and then I tried to mute it. I can't read. Man, I'm getting old. Let's say hello to Connor. Connor, how you doing, buddy?
Hello, I'm doing good. Good to be here in a very crazy world.
Connor, what? That's all you got for me today?
What, do you want more?
Yeah, like I want like I almost said monologue. Yeah, give us a monologue, man.
I'm afraid that I don't have a monologue today. There's not a lot I can say about what's going on in the world without that's a statement.
Okay, fair enough. I do have one question before we do have a video that we're going to show you today that I'm super excited about. I'm waiting on a text to make sure that's okay. I think it's okay. We're going to go with it either way, probably. But
we're less than 2 minutes in, and we already have an angry reaction from somebody.
I don't see a comment. What's the comment?
It's not a comment. It's like the Facebook. You can give the emoji reaction. We got one of those.
Yeah, that's Robert Rigsby. That's our number one. That's our number one listener right there. Robert Rigsby is a man. He's a gentleman and a scholar. He's a man amongst boys, if you know what I'm saying. I have a question for you, Connor. Mm-hmm. When you came into this some 50-some days ago, which you were here before we started doing this on a daily basis, but this is when you really got involved. Would you say that your view of the world has changed since you started listening to me rant every day?
Yes.
In what way?
To a certain degree. I feel like it's not quite something that I feel like I've gotten maybe more of an understanding of some different viewpoints than what I was previously looking at. You get some, everything that you get from the media and online, it's all coming from some really big entities, and I've kind of had my perspective broadened by hearing what you have to say, what your guests have to say about what's going on in the world, and everything's not as black and white as the internet can make it seem. And I'd say, if anything, I've become a little bit less naive, idealistic maybe, about the world after hearing some of your commentary. Well,
and I will say this, for all of you out there listening or watching in podcast land or Facebook Live or YouTube or wherever you're watching, I always tell Connor, and I tell everybody, and I tell you, whether you're in the church, whether you're wherever, no matter where you get your information from, like, you have to get your information from, you have to trust but verify, right? In all cases, trust but verify. And I heard Connor say that, and it reminds me of the heaviness with which I have to, like, I can't take this lightly. A lot of days, I asked Connor, I don't even want to do this, because 3 o'clock is just a hard time. It's right there towards the middle of the day. You got a lot going on. You got this, you got that. Before you know it, it's time to go home. You got wife calling, you got kids, and then you've got plenty of time for crazy stuff to happen, and it's just not always a great time. But there's a weight and there's a responsibility with being a commentator. And oh, how relevant that is today. Because there are a lot of people in this world that don't understand the weight of the responsibility that they have. When one person like Connor will say to me, your commentary has changed the way I view fill in the blank. that is a responsibility I ought not take lightly. James talks about it in the Bible. James says, "For brethren, for you ought not want to become teachers, for teachers will be judged more stringently or strictly." And man, how true those words are today, because we stand here and, look, is there a huge audience out there for us? No. I mean, it's 7,000 to 8,000 a week is what we're looking at, if you want me to be completely real, on Facebook. And then we're getting another 40 to 50 podcast downloads a day. So that means two things. One, you need to go follow our podcast right now, because we need help there. But two, it's the flock we've been given. Like, there are a lot of times in my life that I have wanted to have a bigger... Look, I love talking, and I love people listening to me talk. And I have oftentimes wanted a bigger audience or a bigger influence or a bigger whatever. And I think that's a natural thing. But, like, you don't often consider the weight or the responsibility that one carries. And I think that, honestly, that's what's missing in a lot of the commentary that happens across the country, and especially in times like now, is that there is no biblical understanding of responsibility that is carried by those that are commentating. And so I asked Connor that intentionally because I wanted to hear his answer. And I knew the answer because I've listened to him talk over the last 55 days, and I've listened to his perspective change. And honestly, the way he reads news is no longer the same. Like, he doesn't just take a headline at face value. Ever since that time where it was the protesters angrily stormed it was the Michigan thing. And the way they wrote that was, it was fear mongering. It was insightful. I mean, it was inciting, anger and wrath. And it was just in the use of the English language. It had a different meaning than what they were actually saying. I mean, they used just an English twist, or curveball rather, to just make it sound so differently. And I've watched you change since then. And so I asked that question to illustrate my point. There are buffoons all over this country that are given a platform and a microphone, because guess what? Even an idiot like me can do it, right? All you got to do is buy a microphone and have a computer, and you can get your message out there, your manifesto, your whatever. There's a weight that comes with that. If you're a Christian, there's a lot of weight that comes with that. I'll stand before the Lord one day, and I'll give an account for every person that I interacted with. I believe that. I truly do. And I've got a lot to repent for in that category, because I spent 27 years of my life lost as a ball in high weeds. But today, I'm not going to waste my platform. And so, Connor, I appreciate your honesty in that. And today is, I mean, look, this is a heavy weekend. Let's get into that in a minute. But for now, why don't you play that funky cheddar over there, Connor? Why don't we see what we got going on? I think Connor's got a surprise for us. Let's see.
I do. Give me just a second to get the video
Play
ready.
that funky music, white boy. Here it goes. And when the actual announcement gets made, which today it probably won't get made in full. Look, let me just let the cat out of the bag. We're probably going to the radio. Whoa. That's the first time I've seen that, if we're being honest with you. He showed me like 3 minutes of it earlier, or 3 seconds of it earlier, and I was like, no, that's it. He made two versions, because I know, for those of you that know me, this will surprise you, but I'm a pretty tough guy to please, and so he typically makes a couple different options, and so that's a super cool announcement. The date might change. Date is subject to change, but we are headed to the radio, WVNN 92.5, and super excited. We'll be doing the 5 a.m. show, 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. right before Dale every day. Zach Curtis commenting, "Love you, brother." Zach Curtis is a good friend of mine from up north there, and he pitched at MTSU. He led all of Division I. I believe, Zach, correct me if I'm wrong. He led all of Division I in strikeouts for his senior year, I guess. Got drafted. We got to watch him play in the bigs for a while, and now he is retired to the great White Plains of Leoma, Tennessee. And he's supposed to come and join us for a show, but we got to get Chelsea to let him out of the house. So, Zach, love you too, man. Okay. So we made our announcement, and that was pretty cool. And I would love to dive into that more, but again, we're waiting on some information. And so once we have that, Josh Carmen joining us. What's up, buddy? Once we have that, we will certainly put that out there. But for today, this weekend was a tough weekend for me. And I've spent a lot of the time over the weekend in conversation with people that don't look like me, that don't think like me, that don't act like me, maybe that don't believe like me, and just hoping to find an understanding, and let's just call it what it is. I've never walked a day in the shoes of a black man in America. That's a fact. What has happened in our country is, I want to be very clear, I am diabolically opposed to police brutality, to killing of any unarmed men or women, and I am 100% opposed to any form of racism. I also 100% acknowledge that it exists. I acknowledge that it exists where I live. I acknowledge that it exists on Sunday morning is probably the most segregated day of the week in congregations and faith families all over this country. But on Saturday night, I watched a man get beat to death on Facebook Live. He died. If you know anything about emergency medicine or whatever, I was a medic in the Army, so trauma, those type of things, I might not be very smart at doing much else other than addressing trauma and putting an IV in or changing a bedpan, if you ask my unit there in Seagoville, Texas. But that's another story. I watched a man die on Facebook because he wanted to protect his store. Now, granted, he chose a samurai sword as his weapon of choice. Probably not wise. But I watched him die. George didn't die in Dallas. Is there police brutality and racism in Dallas? Without question. I moved from Dallas. I lived in Texas and just right out east of Dallas for years. My family's still there. But I'm really struggling. My wife on Saturday, she had to ask me multiple times, are you okay? What's wrong with you? Is everything okay? Is everything okay? Are you okay? No, I'm not. I am distraught. And at times this weekend, I felt myself embarrassed to call myself an American. And if you know me, patriotism, duty, my country, my faith, and my family, are so deeply rooted in who I am. That doesn't make me good or bad inherently, but it's just true. And I watched our country destroy itself. 11 major cities on fire. 8 people shot in the protests. Not protests. Let me back up. That's not the right word. Let me be the first to say, as a white man, I want to hear you. To my brothers and sisters that don't look like me, I want to hear you. I seek to understand. I know I'll never get it. And I know that I will never understand it in the way that you do, because I can never live it. but I want to understand. Truly, I do. I truly don't. And look, I'm going to get in trouble for this take probably. I've already gotten some blowback from what I've said thus far, and I think I've been pretty compassionate, biblical, and patriotic in my response. And those are the, being like Jesus, number one, compassionate being part of that, and being patriotic and constitutional, number two, and in that order. And then my family, right, would be right. Would they be right above the Constitution? Probably. But I want to understand you. I want to hear you. Black people, brown people, yellow people, green people, anybody other than white people. White people, I want to hear you too, but I know what that's like. But I want to hear you. I want to understand you. But what I can't understand is what's happening in cities all over the country. And what I want to say to that is, it's not the people that are protesting peacefully that actually want to see change that are also causing the violence and destruction. In a lot of cases, it's guys that look like me. It's not African Americans. It's not those. And I would almost implicitly say, it's not those that are protesting. In fact, yesterday, I'm going to be on. I told Connor I wasn't going to talk about this, and I lied, Connor. And Connor's excited right now. He wished I would have sent him a picture. But I went to Decatur because we go to church in Decatur, and I've got a good friend that owns 3 or 4 businesses in Decatur, and we were there, and there was a protest, and so I just hung out to be there and to listen. And more. I'll be honest with you, like, my heart in going was to make sure that if looting or rioting were to happen, that there was at least a line of defense to keep people away from the church building that we worship in and the businesses that my buddy owns. But I sat there and I protested. I might not have marched with you, but I protested with you. I want you to hear that. What happened was wrong. And just to be super clear, and we've dug on this, Dale Rock joining us, he saw the post that one of my so I reached out to Joel McCarty, who's planning a church over there, and got him a screenshot of an image that I had received that was fake, implicitly fake, 100% fake. We called it out when we saw it. It was so obviously photoshopped, it was ridiculous. But at 8 o'clock last night, there were a couple hundred people in the parking lot at Target. And so I went. Again, being completely transparent. My goal was to protect those that I loved and their belongings and businesses and whatever else. You can like that, love that, hate that, whatever. I could lie to you, but that's why I was there. And I got out of my truck and I walked through the parking lot. At about 8:45, 9 o'clock. I stayed till about 10. And I walked through the parking lot, and I was telling Connor about it today. Like, I cannot explain to you what that felt like. I can't tell you how it made me feel. I cannot even express it. The level of hatred and anger. But I had conversations all along the way. At 2 o'clock, I had conversations that were all about reform. They were about justice. They were about systematic racism in this country and seeing that come to an end. At 8:30 last night and 9 o'clock last night, the conversations were about chaos and opportunity. There was no speaking of George. In fact, there weren't even signs. There was anger and there was chaos. And there were 30 or 40. I feel like every cop in Morgan County was there. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen. The windows at Target were boarded up. There were a couple of groups of protesters all over Decatur that you would pass as you drove along. But I want to speak to those of you that would seek to see justice for George, that would then also say, and the protest is justified. Or sorry, again, I keep using that word, and that's such a terrible word to use when you're talking about chaos, looting, opportunistic crime, property damage, vandalism. And I didn't think I was taking this on today because it's not going to make me a lot of friends probably. especially amongst the group that looks like me. But I don't care because I seek to understand and know and learn. And so, like, to those of you that want to see justice for George, understand, regardless of what the media tells you, we're with you. I've not yet met one person. I've not even seen that internet Yahoo, that build that wall idiot that will say, well, he was resisting arrest. I've not even seen that. In every other situation of police brutality, we've seen some idiot stand up and be like, well, he deserved that. He shouldn't have been going in that house that they were building over there that he didn't steal anything from, that he just looked around at like other people do all the time. That's why we shot him. So we're with you. White people are with you. All colors, races, creeds, sexes, genders, preferences, whatever. For those of you that would then turn around and say the looting and the rioting is also an acceptable response, to that I would say, biblically speaking, I don't see evidence of that. I don't see evidence of taking one bad thing and turning it into a second bad thing. Because what they don't understand is this: like, they're tearing down their community. Look, the Target in Minneapolis, Target is not gonna, it's not gonna cost them a dime. Whatever their insurance deductible is, that's what it's gonna cost them. But it cost them nothing except for, are they not gonna get revenues? Yeah, but how much money does Target Minneapolis do anyways? All they did was take the jobs away from the 20, 30, 40, 50, young to old, whatever, black to white, whatever. I don't know the demographics of that store, but all they did was take their ability to earn income away. They robbed money from their town, from their city. People died, by the way. Read one report. I've not confirmed it. And so I will call it speculative, and I'll call it speculative right now. But I read one story where there was a child and mother trapped in a bathroom of a Target that got set on fire and they burned. Now, I'm not saying that happened or a fact. I read a report that may have happened. Irregardless, 7, 8 people have been shot and killed in protests all across the country. You're breaking the law. 2 wrongs will never make a right. We wonder, again, let's go back to the heart. That man that killed George Floyd. Was he racist? I don't know. There's a lot of evidence that maybe he was. There's a lot of evidence that maybe he knew George, that maybe there was a pre-existing relationship and maybe some tension. And maybe there was, there's a lot of things that I don't know about the man. I don't know that he was being racist, but is there a tendency for black people in this country to be pulled over more, to be harassed more by cops? Sure. I'm not going to deny that. You'd be an idiot to deny that. Are white cops systematically hunting down black men and shooting them with a badge and hiding behind it? No. But again, I don't understand. I've never walked a day in their shoes. I hope to understand. I seek to learn. But the reason, in a lot of cases, that behavior is developed in response to a stressor. Let's use that, a stressor, or for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. I don't know who said that. It's some famous scientist. Who was it, Connor?
Isaac Newton.
There it is. Sir Isaac Newton. If we want police to treat young people, young black, white, yellow, green, whatever people, respectfully and without fear, I've got an idea. Let's not assassinate them in their cars like St. Louis last night or the night before. Let's not burn the city down and attack them and throw rocks at them and stone and beat people in the streets of Dallas because they want to protect their business. Let's not act like hooligans. And let's see if it's going to be easier to have a conversation Like, look, all right, let's use this as an example. I'm a business guy, so I get these terms a lot better. When I dive off into social issues and all that stuff, like I tend to step on my toes, and I don't want to do that because I want my heart to show through. Like, my heart is to understand the plight of the black man and woman in this country. I don't understand it. The melanin in my skin's pretty well set. I get tan in the summer, but that's about it. If you owe me money, I'm in real estate. Okay, let's say I own or finance you a house. I own a house. I'm going to be the bank. Okay, I bought a building like this downtown. The guy didn't want capital gains taxes, so he said, why don't I be the bank? And I'll give you 5% for 15 years. And Quentin, you know, that's my boy right there. Quentin, that's my boy. I want to make sure we address this, Connor. So put that on the screen. Yes, Quentin, and we said this from the very beginning. In fact, I think I said most of those causing real damage are white. They look like, in fact, I think my exact quote was, they look like me. And so Quentin, I want you to hear me, bro. Like, it's not about justice for George. It's not about any of that. Like, I would Quentin, if you call me right now, if Q calls me right now, I will join him arm in arm and go anywhere and protest this with him anywhere he wants me to go. And the minute it gets violent, me and Q are going to protect each other and we're going to get out of there, because that's not what it's about. And Q is absolutely right. He's absolutely right. And that's where I want to land. So, Connor, make sure I come back to this, okay? Because I want to, Q, stay with me. You got to hear this all the way through, because you've got to hear the end, because that's where we have to land. If we're going to understand any of this, if we're going to make any change in this world, if we're ever going to do a thing so that when my generation is gone, this place doesn't look like a crap hole, then we need to land there. So we're going to come back to that. But let me address this. Let me address this concept of if you owe me money, or like, I'm using my building. So I bought a building. The guy said, I don't want capital gains taxes, so why don't you just pay me, give me X amount of money as a deposit or a down payment. That comes off the loan. And then I'm paying him X amount of interest plus principal over a period of time. And so every month I take this man a check. Coronavirus hits, and let's say I can't pay the man. And I call him. I say, hey, Mr. Man, like, I need help here. He says, you know what, son? He's the older gentleman. He loves me to death. I've worked my tail off. I've earned his trust. We've become great friends. I've been to his home. He's entertained it's an incredible relationship. And I go, coronavirus happens, and I said, hey, I need a little help here, which I did. And he said, no problem at all, man. He called me last week. I went over to his house. He said, hey, so what are we going to do about this? And I said, man, first of the month, which is today. I said, we're going to get right back on track, and I owe you 2 months, and I will pay you every penny of that over the next 90 days, and then we'll be back on track. Is that good? Absolutely. Cool. Great. And then he can't find me. And then it becomes the 15th and the 30th and the 45th. Good God, there's only 30 days in a month. It comes the 15th the next month, yada, yada, yada. We move on. And then he calls me. I finally call him back. I say, hey, man, you know what? Times are tough. I really need you to extend me another hand, man. Just, let's change this. Let's change our arrangement. He's going to be like, no, I tried that. You reacted irresponsibly. And for that, I now have to act in a very different way. And he's going to take our contract and he's going to enforce the right that he has to remove me from that contract and keep my money. And then he's going to go sell that building again, and there will not be any reform. You know why? Because I acted crazy and I didn't pay the bill, and I didn't honor my side of the bargain. We need police reform. We need to spend more money on training the men and women of the badge how to de-escalate than to use deadly force. No doubt about it. But what we can't change, it's like gun violence. Man, I'm just going to step on everybody's toes today. Good God, Connor, what have I got myself into? It's like gun violence. The greatest violence in cities are those cities where there's no right to bear arms. You can't stop an evil man from, if he wants to take a gun and commit an act of absolute insanity, he's going to find that gun. He's going to do it. It's like, look, drugs are illegal. Do people, then I guess nobody does drugs because, we told them not to, right? So again, you can't, the logic, it's not there. And so evil men with badges are going to do evil things. There are a lot of cops, and I love cops. I've got lots of law enforcement friends. In fact, I was texting a buddy of mine this morning about joining the reserve police force here in our city. And honestly, it's been the last 48 hours that has caused me to go down that path. Now, he told me I had to shave my beard, and I said I'm out. So don't worry about it. I won't be a reserve cop. But my reaction to this is that I'm a patriot. I love this country. I love black people. I love white people. I love yellow people. I love people because God told me to. I don't love all of you. Some of you are ignorant. Some of you are flat out rude. Some of you I just don't like. But I love you. And I'd do anything in the world for any one of you. And for anyone that knows me, you know that's the truth. My wife will tell you, I'll give the shirt off my back when I ain't got but one left. And she needs it for what I will put my own family out for strangers. Like that's in my DNA. Wrongfully at times. Like I don't even put my family first in a lot of situations, which I should. And I've tried to be better at that. So understand, like I love to give and help and be a part of all that. But cops inherently, a lot of them, like I love a lot of cops, but there are a lot of cops out there, and you know the cop I'm talking about. And if this offends you, you probably are that cop, in case you were curious. So if you're offended, like, sorry, not sorry. But like, hey, license and registration, please. You know, sir, I really don't need my, let me reach for, hey, I just said license and registration. I don't need any, you know, that guy that like his badge, it gives him a crown and he can just do whatever he wants because he's the king of that stop, or he's the king of this, whatever, this enforcement or this, what, you know, those guys a lot of times are the guys that will take stuff too far. And are they racist? All of them? I doubt it. Are some of them? Maybe, but are they evil people that seek to exploit? Power is a crazy thing. Power corrupts people. And a badge and a gun is power in this country. And so is it plausible? Just plausible. Not even possible but is it at a minimum plausible that it's not racism that leads to the majority of these, but rather power, evil, corruption? Now, is racism a part of that? Is it systemic in our country? Do we need to, as a country, address it? A lot of you out there are saying, well, he's saying it's not racism. Those cops, he thinks he's probably part of them. He probably thinks he's like white power stuff. You know, no. Shut up. Listen. I'm going to accomplish two things here. One, racism is systemic. It's a part of our country. We need to address it. Absolutely, without question. On the other hand, power corrupts. A badge and a gun is power. Is it plausible that there are people that when you give them that power, they're unable to wield it in a positive or even constructive, or even a decent way? The answer to that question is unequivocally yes. Not only is it plausible, it's probable. And so I just want to address those differences. Now back to what Quentin said. Back to my boy Q. Q, are you still with us? Give me a comment if you're still with us. I hope you're still with us because I want you to be here right now. I want you to hear this. If not, I'm finna call you and make you be on the show. It's not the people that want reform and justice for George that are causing the chaos. Like I said earlier, a lot of these riots have been started by people that look like me. They look like me. They're white people. The guy in Nashville set the courthouse on fire. Like, Q's still here. He's listening to me. Q, did you see that fellow that set the fire in Nashville? He looked like a real peach, didn't he? So I found out some things this weekend that were terrifying, that go right to the heart of this. So first of all, there's been bricks showing up. There's been bricks showing up all over the country, and they have absolutely no idea, allegedly, where these come from. And they're being placed in places. Connor, you still got a comment lodged on the screen there. And I don't know if it froze or what, but there's bricks being placed in strategic places. There are men and women that have absolutely nothing. Look, the people I saw last night in Decatur at 2:00, they were teary-eyed, they were heartbroken, they were truly seeking change and all of those things. And then the people I saw at 8:30 last night were there for chaos. Look, I've been there, dude. Like, look, if you're listening to me and you were there last night and you were like, man, I really want to see him right at that place. It's probably because you wanted a MacBook or whatever. I don't even know if they sell Macs at Target, but you wanted you a new watch or a TV or something. I've been there. Like, you know what my business title is? The Chief Chaos Officer here at Cotton Row. Chaos is it's a state of being that I'm very comfortable in. In fact, I thrive on it. So I get it. I understand where they're at and where they're coming from. But understand, for those of you out now, for those of you that are listening to me talking, you're like, man, and you look like me and you think that I might be too far, gone for your, one, piss off. Two, like, understand that the men and women that want to see reform are not anywhere near these looting and these riots and these destruction of monuments and whatever else. Like, they're nowhere near it. They're not burning down courthouses. They're not. In fact, I've seen many videos of men and women of color standing between a white man and an object of his rage, whatever that is. I could give you, and do I risk conspiracy theory people coming out of the woodwork and saying, man, this guy's a crazy nut? To tell you my take on it, no, I'm not going to. I'll tell you my take. And Q's right. Like, for bricks to have been placed, there's an 18-wheeler and a forklift. There's someone hiring people to incite violence. Okay, that is a fact. That's not crazy conspiracy. Okay, for those of you that think it is, like Connor said earlier today, sometimes at some point you have to grow out of idealism and get to pragmatism. And I'm hoping that you can do that soon, because idealism's cute until you can actually vote, and then it needs to go out the window. And so listen, like, there are people being paid to protest all over the country. From where I have a theory that's a pretty good working theory that is honestly pretty mainstream now, and there's a specific person behind it. But let me back up and address it from a very big, broad point of view. Let's look at politics, and if you've watched this show for any length of time, Robert Rigsby probably knows about what I'm about to say, because he's watched the show every day for 52 days. The worst thing that could happen for the powers that be in this country would be for people like Q and people like me to come together on the same page, work for the same goal, put aside, look, I'm willing to give here, you're willing to give here, great, let's make a deal, let's move forward. Now we're together. Great, let's go unify another group. Let's go find a different group, and let's put all these different groups together, and let's unify ourselves for a better America, a better place. You know who would lose their ever-loving minds? It's the same ones that are creating the protest. You know why? Power. Power corrupts, always. Always. And so I'm going to leave you with this. It's been I've been talking a while, and I didn't expect to talk monologue all day today. We actually had some other stuff planned, but my heart is heavy. It has been. I mean, honestly, to the point of, like, I don't know where to put it all. I really don't. If you look like me, listen. Stop talking and listen. Hear. Hear from the other side. Seek to understand what it's like. I heard the best example this weekend, and I've got some videos that once I run them past the guy that had the video, or that spoke, I'm hopefully going to play him tomorrow for you. But he was left-handed growing up, and there are no left-handed desks anywhere. There's no left-handed scissors. There's no anything. He was left-handed. Everything else was right-handed, because in the minority over there, like most public schools in this era, didn't cater to the minority, right? And so they had all right-handed desks. So he's a lefty, and he's trying to spin to this side to write with his left hand on a right-handed desk. And then when he goes to use the scissors, he's trying to use his left hand with right-handed scissors. And I don't know if you've ever tried to use scissors that weren't made for your hand, but you can't cut worth a darn. And he said, none of you understand it because you're freaking right-handed. And your whole life, you just got to walk through school, writing on the right side of the desk and cutting with the right side of the scissors. And it hit me like a freaking ton of bricks. And I was like, man, I don't get it. I'm not going to say white privilege because I have to work through that in my head and understand what that means and understand what that looks like and all of that. But I will say this. I've been in the majority my entire life, and I seek to understand the minority. I do. I want to. I want to understand. I'm sorry that it's different for you. I'm sorry that water hoses and dogs and all the racist things that have happened. I truly am sorry. It's the biggest blind spot in recorded human history. And biblically, man, churches used to use scripture to justify it. So I get it. Honestly, I understand your anger. I was ready to stand arm in arm, and still am ready to stand arm in arm with any one of you that wants to go anywhere, storm the gates of hell with a water pistol. I'm in. As long as what we're doing is noble and truly, to protest is to seek reform. To riot and loot is to cause chaos. Those two things cannot be tied together. There is no world where rioting, looting, destruction, death, you are no better than the cop that killed George Floyd. That's going to be controversial, but it's absolutely true. Those black men that beat and I'm saying that because I watched the video. A group of African American men beat a white dude to death. I watched it happen. He died. He's dead. We can put out a report. Like I can bring the Dallas Morning News. That's not a. They're no better. In fact, I'd say, well, I'm not going to say that. They're no better than the cop that killed George Floyd. Seek to understand. Seek to listen. Seek to learn. And seek to love. Robert hits a nail on the head here. The problem is sin, not skin. And the answer is grace, not race. Jesus died for all. Our nation needs him. Man, that's spot on. It's a good word. And quite frankly, if you want to get biblical about it, there's nothing but one race. Ooh, that's going to be touchy. There's different ethnicity, but there's one race. God created one race, the human race. I can take you to the point in the Bible where he took all the people and split them out, sent them to different areas of the country, or the world rather. And based on where they went, obviously, our God, a great and all-powerful and merciful God, would send those who had the ability to create more melanin to the place where they would be in the sun more, and they would need it because us people look like me would be a tomato all summer long. Either that or have skin cancer and die. So there's one race. It's a human race. And what you're doing is wrong. And it makes you no better than the cop that killed George. So for those of you that want to protest and see change, hear me right now. I'm with you. I'll go wherever you want to go. I will protest with you any day, anywhere, anytime, any place. For those of you that seek to cause chaos, destruction, harm, death, whatever, you're no better than the cop that you're allegedly protesting. And I don't know how to say it any clearer than that. People are not going to agree with that. That's okay. But it makes me angry as a property owner, as a whatever, to see such an opportunity for us to unite over a cause that we are all behind. And truly, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to be too idealistic. You know my view on that, but maybe make a difference. And for us to have the opportunity to do that and then set the freaking world on fire. I just don't get it. We've wasted an opportunity. And for those of you that are peacefully protesting, that are trying to stop those that are not so peaceful, be careful. It's dangerous out there. If you have a family, if you have a boyfriend, a girlfriend, a fiance, a husband, a wife, whatever, like go home to them. Make sure you go home to them. There's nothing you can't replace. It's just stuff. George can't come back. No amount of targets burning is going to make that come back. So I don't know, guys. It's not what I planned on today, but my heart was heavy, and apparently I needed to unload this because it's I don't know that I've talked for 50 straight minutes like this in a long time and stayed on a clear path. So, Connor, as always, I appreciate you, buddy. Oh, man. Well, I don't know. That's probably not appropriate music. You know what we need to do? There we go. That's appropriate music right there. So, guys, listen, I love you. It is Monday, Hometown Heartbeat number 52. Join us tomorrow, 3 o'clock. If you don't have the podcast, do it. Hometown Heartbeat with Zach Walker on iTunes, on Spotify, on Shopify, and I say that every time as a joke, but wherever you can get podcasts, you can find Hometown Heartbeat. And like we told you earlier today, hopefully we'll be on the radio soon. So I love you guys. I truly do. Hey, white people, seek to understand, seek to listen. Shut your mouths, listen, understand. You've been in the majority your entire life. I love you guys. Peace out. Connor, take it away.